The match between Bayern Munich and Tottenham Hotspur has just finished. Bayern Munich 2, Tottenham Hotspur 1. As I mentioned at the end of the watch-along, very much a game of two halves. Tottenham were just outplayed and schooled in the first half. Bayern Munich set up with a formation that basically didn't allow us to play out from the back whatsoever, and a real lesson. But then in the second half, potentially due to some of the changes Tottenham made that we'll go into, but also perhaps because of some of the changes that Bayern Munich made, we played a lot better. We got our goal, Pedro Porro, and you know, we looked like we might score again, but it did finish 2-1. I'm here with Luke Armour. Luke, what are your kind of overall feelings straight away about that game?
First half, it was more to do with how intense Bayern were. I think you can't blame any players too much on that one. We'll get to that one. But the second half, that little drop-off in Bayern, which was natural, allowed us a bit more time. And I think you saw Lucas Bergvall shine. I'm pleased with how brave some of the players come on that just played freely. And I think that's, someone mentioned it, it's that confidence we want, that belief that you can carry the ball, you can play a difficult pass, you can try to create something, play without any fear. And I think that was what was more impressive in the second half, as much as you can take from a friendly, as it were.
In terms of, in case you weren't watching, to take you through what happened in the game, Spurs made an horrendous start. Vicario had the ball at his feet. This is after just 3 minutes. And Jed Spence, who was starting in the left-back role, as the inverted fullbacks are asked to do, he came short for the ball, but Vicario gave him a bit of a hospital ball, and before Spence could even get his foot on it, it was nicked in front of him. Serge Gnabry had a shot which was saved by Vicario, but the rebound was put in by Vidovic. So that was 1-0 Bayern after just 3 minutes. They should have, arguably, I think, been maybe 4 or 5 up at half-time. They made chance after chance. They had 70% possession. I think they had 12 shots in the first half to our 2. We had none on target. But they didn't actually score their second until the 55th minute, which was Leon Goretzka following up after Vicario had made yet another save, and unfortunately kind of bounced off his hand onto his knee and came back out to Goretzka. But it won't surprise any of you to hear that that goal really came from Spurs losing the ball on a transition, and this was happening kind of time after time during this game, as it did last season. Whenever we lose the ball in the final third or in central midfield, really, you made a really good point about it in the watch-along, Luke, which is Yves Bissouma can often be, or the number 6 can often be the player who loses the ball, where really we need somebody a bit further back to sweep up and help the centre-halves. And it didn't happen, and that's why the second goal was scored. And then not long after, only 10 minutes later, 65th minute, Pedro Porro picks the ball up in the midfield, drives forward a little bit. He's about 28 yards out, absolute screamer, sticks his laces through it, middle left-hand corner. Porro doing what Porro does, and as I mentioned, after that, Spurs maybe could have got a goal. Lucas Bergvall had a really good chance in front of goal, just kicked it wide, put it wide, and maybe we could have got an equaliser. But in the end, you'd have to say, considering how superior they were in the first half, Bayern Munich deserved that 2-1 victory. We mentioned briefly the halftime changes, which were Yves Bissouma for Archie Gray and Lucas Bergvall for James Maddison. I think that Bergvall and Bissouma change was huge. And one thing I would say, and I mentioned it in the watch-along, is for me a lot of it was about within the first 2 minutes of Bergvall and Bissouma coming on, the Bayern Munich players saw that they were willing to drop a shoulder, play on the half-turn. They were scanning a lot more. They were willing to take chances that in the first half, Archie Gray and James Maddison weren't really succeeding with. So do you kind of agree with me in that that was a big reason why we were able to beat their press so much more successfully?
Massively. You look at Bissouma's relaxed position when the goalkeeper's got the ball. Because he sits off a bit, it allowed Vicario a bit more time to think about his pass. And then with Bergvall, in place of Maddison as such, Bergvall's confidence and his ability to drive with the ball. Again, I always see Maddison, sometimes he just holds on to it a bit too long. And I liked that Bergvall wanted to turn and go. I think that was a big difference, coupled with Bayern's slightly less intense press. Of course, it's easy to get carried away, but that's what was the difference in us having a bit more about us, getting the ball and transitioning a bit quicker.
From what I've seen in pre-season so far, Lucas Bergvall, I think, has to start against Leicester. And if that's the case, if you agree, who would you start him in the central midfield with? Because he clearly needs players around him who he can have that little relationship with, of those little 5-yard pop balls round the corner, etc. But also, we do need somebody who's going to be a little more defensively minded. And we haven't brought anyone in that position. I mean, ironically, obviously, Palhinha played for Bayern Munich today, and there were talk that we'd be looking at someone like him. He's kind of akin to a Rodri, someone who does have that defensive nous on him. But from all the options, you know, we're looking at Sarr, Gray, Bissouma, Bergvall, Bentancur still to come back in, and then obviously Maddison. Nobody is really that player, and it doesn't even feel like Ange necessarily wants that kind of player. But for me, I'll say it for me, at this point, I would start with Bissouma, Bergvall, and one other, and I'm not sure that Maddison has done enough for me to say I want that he should start. And actually, it might be better for me that if it was Bergvall, Bissouma, and Sarr, and just take a bit of a hit on the creativity and be like, maybe Bergvall can be the creator in there.
Yeah, 100%. I think Bissouma will start for his experience in there. I think he's going to get the nods. I would personally be surprised. I'd want Bergvall to start. I still would be surprised if he did start against Leicester. I just think where he's confident on the ball, is Maddison going to be effective with him getting in his space? I don't know. So yeah, I can 100% see Bissouma, Sarr, 100% see Bergvall play as well. I think he'll stick with trusted Bissouma, Sarr and Maddison.
And at the moment, obviously, it's only a week till our last pre-season game, which is Bayern Munich at home. And then a week and a couple of days after that, we've not seen Richarlison at all. We've not seen Bentancur at all. We've not seen Romero. We've not seen Van der Ven at all. That forward line, Decky Kulusevski has been playing in the false nine all pre-season. Do you expect him to start there for that first game? Has Richarlison got enough time to potentially get enough minutes in his legs to start that game?
I think he'll start Kulusevski.
Right.
I think he hasn't done himself massive harm. He was unlucky in his twisting and turning today. He had the energy, and you saw what he brings when he runs back as well, as much as anything. I know Richarlison does battle, but I think Kulusevski will start in that almost false nine. Sonny, Johnson, I think that's what he...
Yeah, you think so? Against Leicester, it'll be Son, Johnson and Kulusevski. And then I think it's probably worth talking about Jed Spence. He was obviously played a little bit out of position today, but it seems to me that Ange Postecoglou wants to keep him as his kind of backup right back, and that's probably going to save us a little bit of money. I mean, obviously, I guess Archie Gray can play in there as well.
Yeah.
I don't think naturally that Spence can count as a backup left back, though. I'm not sure he's done enough for me for that.
As said when we was watching, I think it's getting players used to that, being versatile, playing both inverted fullback roles.
Yeah.
And I totally agree. I think he will be someone that's used as a squad player, and he's just feeding him in this pre-season to get him used to these positions, like we see with Archie Gray. It's just getting players used to different positions, and I think they will come in handy. We're going to need all the players we can get.
Totally. And you talked quite a lot in the watch-along about how important you think it is that we do get a proper number 9 through the door. Talked about potentially that being, obviously, after the rumours yesterday, Solanke or Tony, or I guess potentially Gyökeres from Sporting Lisbon. Do you think that's something that's vital before the first game, or realistically end of the window when the prices will drop a little bit?
So that depends who we get. So if we get someone with proven Premier League pedigree, to a degree, at least for the last few years, then it doesn't matter, I don't think. If we're drafting someone in from another country, you'd like to see it done as soon as possible, ideally. But that is 100% for me. Doesn't matter where you look, someone who can stick the ball in the back of the net is, for us, in our position we're in, is a difference in this year challenging for top 4 or not.
Okay, and quite a few more rumours today that a lot of Championship clubs and League One clubs are interested in taking Jamie Donnelly on loan. He came on again today. I've been thoroughly impressed with Donnelly this season. Would your choice be to send him out for guaranteed minutes on loan, or would you keep him for the Europa League as possibility of a spare left back, or in that 8-10 role?
It depends what Postecoglou does with the other options we've got there defensively all across the back four, but I probably would see him go out. I don't think he's someone that you go desperate. He's got to be involved, like 100% got to be involved. He's shown some promise, so it wouldn't surprise me.
Okay, and then just overall, obviously, our first defeat of the pre-season today, we won all the other games. How important do you think the result is compared to the performance and obviously getting the minutes in the legs? And what do you think, what kind of thing do you think Ange Postecoglou will be saying in the press after this and saying to the team?
I think he plays back the second half. I think it'd been a different story. For me, and watching pre-season or whatever, playing pre-season, the result is totally irrelevant. Right. The result is totally irrelevant as long as you're not getting a good hiding. It's what confidence are the players showing? How are they adapting to how he wants them to play? And I think in that second half, we saw it a bit better. Yeah. And I think he won't be terribly disappointed. You've got to give Bayern Munich for how they played in the first half and how intense they were. That credit there. We held them off as best we could, and we got a feel for the game. So I don't think he'll be terribly disappointed.
Brilliant. Well, Luke, thank you so much for doing the watch along and for that instant match reaction. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you give this video a like, press subscribe if you're not already subscribed to We Are Tottenham TV. And we will be back with the post-match fan show in about 15-20 minutes time, where you can call in and speak to us about that Bayern Munich defeat. Also, what else has been going on in pre-season, the transfer window, of course. I know there are a lot of very frustrated Spurs fans at the moment because we haven't really spent much money directly improving the first team. So you can call in and we will chat to you about that. But don't worry, guys, it's only a friendly, and everything will be all right at Leicester on that opening Monday night. Come on.